everybody doing? It's Jamal again. I wanted to make another video on it's related to my last video about Roger Williams and how he established the Providence colony. I had a question from someone who I served in the military with. He said, are Moors and the traditional Native Americans one and the same, or are they two separate people? And what I told him was, and I know this is probably a question a lot of people may have, I told him that the truth is we are the same people. The reason why he used the word traditional Native Americans is because we're showed a more of an Asian featured person, and we associate that look specifically with Native Americans. How you doing? Now, the reason for this is because if you do some history on the East Yi and Hu Zhen, he traversed to America looking for his people, the so-called Black Chinese, and he ran into the Olmecs. Now, if you look up the ancient Olmecs, if you look up their stoneheads, which is our ancestors, so if you look at our stoneheads, you'll see what we would call African features, which is just, you know, broad nose, thick lips, and they look and resemble nothing like the so-called traditional Native American Indian. It's because they're just amalgamated. They're just mixed with Moorish blood and what you call Chinese or Manchurian or Asian, you see? So that's the so-called traditional Indian or Native American. That's why they look the way they look. Now, there's a certain reason why that division was created, but we'll go back into a little bit more history before I touch on that. So the Moors are the Native Americans. We are the true Americans. Now, linguistically, the word Moor, the word American, the word Amexum, where the word Olmec is derived from, Old Amexum. So the word Moor, Olmec, American, Al-Moroccan, Amuakush, which is the Berber word for Morocco, the word Morocco, the Cherokee word Amu, which means water, the word Tamari, which is one of the ancient names for the Egyptian area, what we call Egypt today, and parts of Africa. All of those share the same root word Mu. So America, Al-Moroccan, Moor, Olmec, Mexican, you know, various words, they share the same root word Mu. And Moors are known historically as a sea-fretting people. So we traversed the seas, and you can look this up in the ancient Dogon. They've been, which is Moors. Dogon are part of the country Mali, so they're Malian, and Mali is part of the Moroccan Empire. They've been traveling. Scholars say, see, did I say Roger Williams? Oh, this is Washington Park. Dogon been traversing since, some scholars say, you know, 1500 BC. So there's no possible way that these ancient people, us, have been traveling the oceans and haven't come and traded across America, you see? And, you know, anciently, when the continents were connected and the Atlantic was a river, we've been traversing since then. So proof that linguistically it's all related. So I say that to say this: the word India, you can't derive the word India or Indian from the word American. Now, what you need to understand is that people are named after the land, or the land is named after the people. So a Chinese man can't say, oh, I'm native to China, I'm a Chinese Indian. You see? Or I'm an Asian Indian, because Asia is the continent. So they say, you know, American Indian, America's the continent. So it just linguistically it doesn't work. Historically it doesn't work. And if you would like to be an honor, you can't transact business in another man's name. India is derived from the word indigo, or it can be derived from Hindustan, which is another country. So these people claiming to be Indians are transacting business in another man's name. They claim to be Indians when India is over in the East, in Asia. So that kind of just throws that argument out the entire window. So the Moors are the true Americans. If you look up the definition of the word American in Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary, it states one of the various copper-toned natives found in America. And if you look at Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the definition of the word blackamoor, and it separates the adjective which is the description, black, and the noun, Moor, which is a person, place, or thing, and it reads any dark-skinned person. So since Moor and American and Al-Moroccan and Amua-Kush and Olmec, etc., they're all linguistically related, and since an American is one of the various copper-toned native found in America, and Moor means, and black Moor means any dark-skinned person, what logically would you conclude from that? Right? So another thing that people need to realize is that if you look up the word Indian in Black's Law Dictionary 5th edition, it'll state that an Indian tribe or Indian is a race of men. Now let's stop right there. A race of men. There's only one race and it's human. So to be outside of the human race is to be not human, right? Now it says, because the word race means to shoot out, right? So we all know that we shot out from the same original people. So there's only one race and it's human. So already just that in itself throws out the entire argument, right? And then it states, so it's a race of men found in the United States. Now if you look up the definition of the word United States, by their own definition, Title 28, Chapter 6, Subchapter 176, Subsection 3002, definitions, number 15, A, it says the United States is a federal corporation. Federal just means contract, so they're a contract corporation, so you can choose to either contract with them or not, right? So we would then have to think to ourselves, can a race of men be found in Walmart? Can a race of men be found in McDonald's? Can a race of men be found in Domino's? The answer is no. Considering by their very own definition, the United States is not a country, which is a geographical landmass, a nation, which is a bloodline, nor a state. And a state is just a collection of people, human flesh, bound together by common law. So the United States isn't a place, it's a corporation. Just like you can't be a race of men found in Burger King, you can't be a race of men found in the United States, you see? So the word Indian, just like the word black, was coined by the Inquisition democracy Christian crusader Europeans to brand Moors as their Christian property. So that's the real story behind Indian and black. Now to go back into the in the video of Roger Williams that I talked about, the Indica Terra Divina, and anciently, you know, the Dogon has been sailing and the Moors have been sailing, so Dogons and Moors. We've been traversing to and from Alquiblana, which you call Africa today, and northwest of Mexico, which you call America today, right? So we've been traversing, so we were in control of the trade routes. Now, due to the many wars that we've been fighting against the Europeans, since the Punic Wars, the Sicilian Wars, the Greco-Persian Wars, the Crusades, the Inquisitions, all that kind of stuff was always between Moors and Europeans. Now, the Battle of Poitiers, France, you know, our perpetual expulsion from Granada in 1492. After that, Isabella and Ferdinand, after they combined their kingdoms and ended up, you know, kicking us out of that area, Christopher Columbus was then allowed to go on a reconnaissance mission here to America to see what the Moors already were working with, because we were in a position of power and still were up until you know, the coup d'etat, 1861, etc. So after Christopher Columbus did his reconnaissance mission and seen what was happening over here, he went back, and in 1493 the Indica Terra Divina was issued from the popes, thanking Isabella and Ferdinand for what they did to defeat you know, the Moors. They call us Saracens and Berbers or barbarians, etc. And it's pretty much expelling us out of Spain. And then in the Indica Terra Divina, it talks about how they want to push this fake version of Christianity on us, which is the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, which was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 AD. So they're worshiping Constantine and his mother, but they're acting like they're worshiping Yeshua and his mother, guised as Mary and Jesus. So, and the symbol that they come in is a crown and a red cross. And there's a Latin phrase that says, in these signs or in this symbol, we conquer. And also the Christian Crusaders, they had a white shield and a red cross on the shield. And if you're from the Narragansett territory, fraudulently called Rhode Island, if you look at the crest of Brown University, it's a white shield with a red cross. So the intentions of the Europeans, not all, some Europeans, was to come here, establish jurisdiction over us by renaming our lands. And once they establish this quasi-jurisdiction, if they say, all right, this Narragansett territory is now Rhode Island, but it's a corporation. And as you, being a human, if you say, I'm from Rhode Island, they have jurisdiction over you, you see? So, the Intica Terra Divina was to serve that purpose, to force Christianity on us, and to rename our lands, to establish jurisdiction over the land and the people, because the people are part and parcel, you see? People are the land is the people. So by calling us Indian and black, they conquered us, right? Now, after Roger Williams established the Providence colony in 1638, I believe, around that time, no, 1636, and then he established the First Baptist Church, 1638. That was to brainwash the Narragansett Moors into Christianity. Now, there's a lot more history that we can go into, but we were rebelling. We also had the Europeans in bondage. They had some of us in bondage. This is where the conflict, oh, Moors enslaved Indians. We ain't Indians. What really happens is Moors enslaved each other. That's also one of the reasons why we fell in Grenada, and that's also the exact reason why we fell here. If you read some history about the Narragansett territory, fraudulently called Rhode Island, you'll see that the Narragansett Moors and the Pequot Moors and some of the Wampanoag Moors were fighting each other. So that's the divide and conquer tactic. The same thing in the Iberian Peninsula, where you had the Almohad Moors fighting against the Umayyad Moors. They're all Moors, right? So they were fighting for power, and then they lost power because they were divided. So certain political factions began to, detach themselves from the main body, and that's how we lost. We became divided. A nation that is divided is easy to conquer. Divide and conquer. So, try not to get hit by a car. So the only reason why they were able to gain control over us was due to the brainwashing of Christianity, and I'm not talking about the legitimate Christianity, I'm talking about the Nicene Creed of 325 AD. So after we started rebelling, the whole Willie Lynch manual came into play, 1712. So, Roger Williams established the Baptist Church, 1638. After a lot of rebellion, they called into force the Willie Lynch manual, and that's the take the mind, leave the body thing. And so what they do is they divide the tall against the short, the weak against the strong, the man against the women, the light skin against the dark skin. You see, that's why the team light skin, team dark skin thing exists today. And what they did in these indoctrination camps was they split some of us in half, right? They called some of us Indian, they called some of us blackamoors. Now, to get rid of the national identity even more, they got rid of the word Moor and just started calling us black. So they told some of the Indians, right, they put them on reservations, the Indians, and they put the blacks in the ghettos, right? So they taught some Indians that millions of our ancestors were slaughtered. Thus, there's a small number of them. So now the mindset is, there's only a few of us, right? They told blacks that they were taken from Africa somewhere. We don't know where, but we got you from over there. So to make up for the false claim that they slaughtered millions of Native American Moors, they had to tell some that they were Indian, some of their ancestors got killed, and half that they're black from somewhere else, you see? Because if you combine the numbers, we are way more in number than the Europeans, because they're the foreigners. We're the natives of the land, you see? So when he asked, are Moors the traditional Native Americans, the answer is yes. The only reason why we are not is in the mind. That's Willie Lynch. Take the mind, leave the body. They live off our separation. So you hear some Indians saying, well, the Moors enslaved Indians, or the Moors only came here during the 1500s. Read the book, The Golden Age of the Moors, by Ivan van Sertima. He talks about how in the Barbary trade, slave trade, which isn't really slavery, that we had millions of Europeans in bondage. Millions. And it was often that it was only Europeans. during that same time period, we were bringing them out of the Dark Ages, we were teaching them, etc. So the slavery wasn't like the whip and the chain, how they portray it now. It was, some of it was, they were studying under us and they were journeymen, you see what I'm saying? So we were teaching some of them, so they sat at our feet. And you can call that a servant, but there's nothing wrong with that. So we had, and there's also the dark side where we had, where we were using them for slave labor, the aggression and the violence, and we had some of their women as concubines and stuff like that, and we were just pimping them out and doing all types of dreadful and hateful things. And that's also one of the reasons why we fell. You know, that karmic debt comes back on us. So those same millions of Europeans that were being sold at Tripoli, Tunis, Algiers and stuff like that, they were also being shipped here to America. That's the first colony, 1607, Virginia. Those freed Europeans, having been trained by Moors. This is where the Iroquois Confederation comes in. We started teaching them our government, right? And moral government, etc. Same thing with the Renaissance. There's no difference. Same exact thing happened, just on different continents, and we think it's something different. So these freed Europeans and these Moors were trying to establish the republic, not a democracy, a republic, to end this constant trash between Moors and Europeans, right? So things like the Willie Lynch syndrome is what keeps us in this, we're black, we're Indian, we're Moors. These different, in some, oh, we're Christian, or we're Muslim, or we're Muslim, or all of that is just really nonsense. Because the only thing that unifies us is nationality. Your nationality is your bloodline. Moorish American is a bloodline. Black's not a bloodline. Indian is someone else's bloodline. You can't steal theirs. Can't walk around saying, well, I'm a Chinese. Look at my skin color, look at my hair. I don't look Chinese, you see? Even though we're all humans, but still. Right? So, the United States was founded to end the ancient hatreds, etc. Right? So back to the Willie Lynch thing, 1712. So remember, Roger Williams set up Providence Colony, 1636. Baptist Church, 1638. Willie Lynch came in to deal with the rebellious Moors who now think they're black and Indian. Then, 1724, Christian black codes, which one of the main things was to send these so-called blacks and these so-called Indians to conversion schools, weekly conversion schools, to learn Christianity. The same, if you look up history, look around 1500s, the same thing was happening in the Iberian Peninsula in the Crusades and Inquisitions against us. We were forced to go to Sunday school, same thing. So 1724 Christian black codes. By 1740, look it up here, 1740, something known as the Great Awakening. That's when the branded Moors, called Indian and black, of the Narragansett tribe, openly confessed to be Christians. So this has much to do with, if you read on the Inquisition, they would take people, accuse them of crimes. So they would take the adults, accuse them of crimes, and then they would automatically take the children, you see? So between 1724 Christian black codes and 1740, you can see they were brainwashing children, you see? So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to what they were doing to the people. So again, these brainwashing camps and these breeding camps, those are these schools, those are these reservations, and those are these ghettos. Today, it's just, they make it seem like it's something different, so you don't see the connection. Now, the Great Awakening is even more proof to the Intercatera Divina. It's kind of like you can't escape it. You see what I'm saying? The truth is one. The truth is all. The truth doesn't change, fade, or pass away. That's evident. It's self-evident. Just look it up. Now, unfortunately, some Indians and some blacks won't tell you to look into this history, but Moors will, because the only way to fix this issue of some of us thinking we're Indian and some of us thinking we're black, is to expose the truth. Now, to go back a little bit, I want to talk about Indian and what it means to be Indian, and then what it means to be a Moor, right? So we already know being a Moor is a bloodline. You can't change it. It's part. You were granted that the second you were born. Actually, before, while you were forming in your mother's womb. So when they say in order to be Indian, you have to get an ID and then a tribal identification number. Now, there's some Indians who are well versed in law, and they should tell you that humans are not subject to commerce. So if you need a number associated with you, that means you're commercial property. That means you're chattel, right? And in order to be recognized as an Indian, you have to have this number. Does that make sense to you when it should be your bloodline? Right? All Moors require you to do is proclaim your nationality. You say who you are. You recognize yourself. That's all you need to do. But these Indians want you to have this number which places you in this. Think about this. When you establish a business or a corporation, it has a tax ID number. It's a commercial number. So when they say you need this tribal number, what are they saying? What are they saying? You see? It's called selling of the birthright. They're saying you're commercial property. So think about that. In order to be recognized, in order for your bloodline to be recognized, these so-called Indians say you need a number. But divine law, constitutional law, common law, humans are not subject to commerce. So you don't need a number. This is why when you wish to recognize your bloodline and you proclaim your nationality, which is an utterance, you confess it, because it's in the ethers, you can't take it back. That's an oral contract. You can't take that back. You see, it's more than just a piece of paper, right? So when you confess who you are, you can look it up in a dictionary, look up proclaim. Law dictionary. So once you say who you are, it is what it is. It's set in stone. It's in the ethers. You can't change it. Allah's watching. Allah's hearing. You see? So you don't, all you get is an ID proving that you are who you say you are. That's all you need. You don't need no number. Why? Because humans aren't subject to commerce. That's slavery. That's peonage. Not really slavery, but what people connotatively call slavery. That's peonage and that's bondage. That's illegal. Now, you can agree to that and then it doesn't become illegal. You see what I'm saying? Because you agree to it. But if it's forced on you, then it's unlawful, I should say. But you can agree to be a slave. You can agree to be Indian, which makes you colored. You can agree to be black, which makes you colored. Both of those makes you Christian property, Christian black codes. This is why Indians and blacks are listed as colored. Now that's a status. It's a civilly dead status. To change your status, you nationalize. That corrects your status. Your status, well, it corrects your political status. Your political status is your ability to call into force rights, etc. in your relationship to your land, because status equals a state. So Christian black codes, it says blacks, coloreds can't own property because status is a state. If you're property, which black is, look up the Farrakhan did a speech. Excuse this big ass pimple on my face. Farrakhan did a speech and he said, black is a thing, or dead. And then he said, zapatos negros, which means black shoes. So it's the thing, right? So black things, so things can't own other things. Your shoes don't own your shoelace. You own your shoes and the shoelace, you see? So when you claim to be Indian black, you claim to be civiliter mortus, which is a law phrase which means civilly dead. Dead in the eyes of the law. This is why, in the law dictionary, the word colored, it says there's no legal technical signification to the phrase or the word colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. So since your status is dead, since you're not identifying with your nationality and your bloodline, you're dead. Indian, black, Spanish, Negro, Latin American, Afro-Rican, whatever that is. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny because it's stupid. All those other things, that means you're dead. So I just kind of wanted to expound upon what I was talking about and put things into proper context of when I was talking about Native American Moors and Roger Williams and the Intica Terra Divina. Now, talking about how Amu, Akush, and etc., all those words relate to Morocco, and here's Morocco, this land right here, fraudulently listed as the United States. The organic land, the country, is Morocco. Now, evidence of this can be found in George Washington's letter to the Sultan of Morocco, 1789, December the 1st, 1789. And in the letter, you'll read that A, he wasn't the first president. B, he wasn't even elected, he was selected or appointed, right? C, he's thanking the Sultan of Morocco for allowing the Europeans to conduct business, so to conduct commerce on his dominion, meaning the Sultan of Morocco's dominion. Dominion means land. So he's messaging the Sultan of the Moroccan Empire. An empire consists of kingdoms, countries, different nations, etc., all agreeing to be under one political jurisdiction. Now, like I was saying, the Moors ran shit, right? So the European, George Washington, the colonist, the foreigner, because they're not Americans, they're Europeans, was thanking our Sultan, saying, you know what, thank you, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, thank you so much for showing love to our people and allowing us to do business on your land. Thank you, Moors. That's what that letter is really saying. And if you read more about it, he apologizes for not paying taxes because they're foreigners, this is our land, so you got to pay us to be on our lands, all that kind of stuff. So whenever Indians, who are really Moors, who are denying their bloodline, say that Moors aren't from here, think again. What do you mean we ain't from here? What you talking about? Linguistically proven. Historically proven. What more do you want? Etymologically proven, so linguistically again. What more do you want? The rest is on you. Study, study, study. If you'd ask me what to study next, I say study yourselves and don't study this pimple on my face. Another reason I want to talk about more about when Moors just say proclaim your nationality. This is why Noble Drew Ali said, Moors, be yourself. You don't need, you don't need anything but you to prove that to be you. You don't need a tribal ID. You don't need a tribal number. You don't need to be recognized by someone else. You need to first recognize yourself. Self. Know thyself. Moors, be yourself. And when I say Moors, be yourself, I'm talking about blacks who think that they're blacks, who are really Moors. And I'm talking about Indians who think that they're Indians, who are really Moors. So Moors, be yourself. Right? Be yourself. Honor your mothers and fathers. Recognize your bloodline. Stop claiming to be someone else that you're not. You can't walk around saying, I'm a Native American Chinese. Just like you can't say I'm a Native American Indian, because this ain't India and this ain't China. You can't say I'm a Native American Turk. This ain't Turkey. You can't say I'm a Native American German. This ain't Germany. You see? You see the trick? You see the trick? You see how simple the trick is? When you just think logically? This land was never called America. I mean, this land is America. This land was never called India. So that means that people can't be Indian, huh? Indians claiming immemorial blood ties to this land can't really be immemorial, which means without record or without human memory. It goes too far that people can't even remember what the ancient name was, etc., or the connection. You can't claim immemorial connections to a word that only applied to us in 1492. That's not immemorial. That has a date that I literally just remembered. So, think about that. How can you claim connections to a word that was applied to you by a foreigner? I apologize for the video keep cutting out, but pretty sure I got your mind thinking, how can you claim that word if it don't belong to you, right? So I expound upon this more in my book, and so just be on the lookout. Study, study, study. If you ask me what to study next, I'll say study yourselves. Peace.
You know what, brother? If you were to walk into any mosque in America and you just laid your hands on the first person or the third person or the fifth person that you see, you realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American? I believe there were only 8% of the slaves that came to America. So how is it that there are so many more people that they claim are black or African Americans? I think they got the numbers wrong, because a lot of Native Americans are the ones that they're counting as black folks.